what was the hardest question? They relatively weren't necessarily that hard, but I guess when somebody tell you you're going to take a test on it and just see what you know, you kind of overanalyze it. So when we answered it, you know, some of the things like your first natural reaction, you thought, I should pick this answer, but when you overanalyze it, you end up choosing the wrong one. So you kind of psych yourself out, but it seemed like common knowledge, so it wasn't necessarily that hard.
Great, yeah. So. And the gentleman next to you, give us your reaction about the quiz.
Yeah, you know, as I said, we weren't given like, you know, a warning that we're going to take the quiz, but yeah, it was so-and-so. Like some of the questions about Islam, well, we got it right, but the other questions were kind of tough, and yeah, I got a couple of them wrong.
Yeah, and we did tally up the results of the quiz that was given out to our studio audience. And just to give you some background, when the study was taken to the American general public, it seems that based on the numbers that atheists got the most answers right when it came to religious knowledge, and then came Jews, and then Protestants and Catholics. So, you know, that's just to give you an idea of the state of the state of knowledge that's in the Western world now regarding religious knowledge. Just to address the panel here, why do you think the knowledge of religion, of the knowledge basically of each other, because this is a test regarding and focused on different religions, not just Islam or anything like that, but just general knowledge of different faiths. Why is that going down? Is that because of materialism? Is that because of a distraction from human interaction? Latif Saab.
I definitely believe it's moving away from religion and morals and the onslaught that you have now in the world of immorality and materialism. It's all involved in this, as far as I see it, these economic downturns and whatnot, and everybody is now concentrating on, was it since the 80s when it started with the, you know, everybody get yours, what was the thing, the Wall Street guys and materialism, and it became a psyche of America that under any means you can go out there and make money. That's why you have, you know, people in organized crime living in the same neighborhoods with doctors and lawyers and all of these things in the suburbs somewhere, because it all matters about if you have the money, you know, you're a success. And I have a friend of mine, another friend of mine reminds me of this saying. He's an artist, and you know, he paints and creates cards and things and sells them. And he said he never measured his success by the number of dollars in his pocket. And I thought that was a great saying for somebody who, you know, is working, or an artist, or somebody who's an entrepreneur and is doing something. Materialism is what the West is all about.
Fahim Saab, the results of the survey from our studio audience, and obviously it's not a sampling of any official sample or anything, but the scores were a bit low. They were maybe as low as the general population. I think my understanding is the Islamic questions were, you know, we did okay, but not so much on the other faiths, the religious knowledge of the other faiths. Why do you think that is?
I don't think there's anything unique with religion. I think this is a systemic issue. If you were to give a similar survey about geography and ask them, you know, where is Peru as compared to where is Cambodia, I think you'll get similar answers. And if you ask them about economy, you're talking about materialism, I think if you ask them the exchange rate of dollar to euro, you'll probably get similar answers. It's really reflective of an overall state of education of the country. Because with the newer gadgets, we are always 3 clicks away from whatever information you need. So people really feel there's no need to remember stuff anymore. They forget that people with access to Google perhaps represent 2%, 3% of the world today, and these are very generous estimates. So I really think it's a more broader phenomenon rather than just simply religion.
With Google, especially, you know, as a way to find information about different things, you know, maybe do you see that maybe tools like that cause us to question our own beliefs? You know, when we find out about opposing views and different views, is our own faith in jeopardy? Is it questioned? And if we do question ourselves, is there something wrong about that? Mehdi Sahib?
I don't think so. I can give you the example of Hazrat al-Muslim Maud Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, our second Khalifa. He said that when I was grown up enough, I raised this question, am I an Ahmadi because I'm the son of the Prophet Messiah, or I really believe in him? And he said that, and I spent a lot of time in reflection, and then the time came that I said, no, I'm an Ahmadi Muslim because I'm convinced that this is the right way. So questioning faith, but if it is properly done, it is good, because if you question, then you will search for the answer, and then you will have satisfaction. If you don't question, then it is a sort of I don't care attitude, and which is not productive.
Reno Sahib, did you have anything to add to that?
I think it's only detrimental to your faith if your faith is weak, and that if you don't have a true belief in God. That's the only time. But for me, one of the things that brought me to Islam was the fact that it's a very rational religion, you know, and the lack of the conflict between religion and science in Islam was something that was really attractive to me. So it's not something for me that has any particular problem.
And science might be one of the things that may be driving people away from faith. Fahim Sahib, did you have any comment on that?
Again, I believe science is morally neutral. You know, I love science. I have no problem with science. And I think even to the point of comparative religions, how are you going to do tabligh otherwise? That's a reality which is in our face. Whether we like it or not, we have to go through comparative religions. And imagine if you're out there buying Levi's jeans for yourself, and someone said, I just bought one for $10, which is just like yours, and you spent $30 on it. Chances are the guy who's selling it for $30 isn't going to be in business. There's no way that you can cheat, quote unquote, in this spiritual environment. So may the best team win. The point really is we believe and we prove with experience that Islam gives you that rational need for your soul. It gives you the best product, so to say, at the best price, at a convenient location. That's going to serve you for the rest of your life. That's what Islam is. And I think, yes, in that process, some people will go out and buy jeans for $30, but guess what? It's only till the time that they realize that they've been ripped off. And then they're going to come back to the same shop. So yes, there is some issue involved there, but overall, science is something which Holy Quran is full of predictions of science. And you know, I'll just give you a very small example. When Copernicus and Galileo were still trying to talk and prove to the Christian church that the world is not flat, Hazrat 1400 years ago had said the mountains that you look at, and Holy Quran attests to that the mountains that you look at and you think they're stationary, they're not. They have a fleeting motion. Imagine the product you have in Islam and Ahmadiyyat and the understanding. So I really think we have everything to gain and nothing to lose by going on the scientific platform and say, you know, absolutely, we would love to have a conversation about Islam and science or religion and science.
I think this is a very important point, because other religions like Christianity, they have opposed science and this kind of questioning and raising question whether it is rational or not, or checking everything on the criterion of rationality. Galileo Galilei is the not best but the worst example that how he has been persecuted because of his ideas. I think Christian church has been the main reason of creating atheists. Because if you are a thinker, if you are a research scholar, if you have this curiosity to know more, and you are asking questions, you could not be a Christian. So they pushed people outside the pale of Christianity. Islam is the only religion which has promoted science. You open any page of the Holy Quran, you say, why don't you reflect? Why don't you ponder on the creation of the universe, you will not see any a disparity in the creation of God. Again and again, promotion of knowledge. And this is the only religion is Islam. And unfortunately, Christianity, as I said, has created more atheists than perhaps believers.
I wanted to take it to the audience, that last point, which is very interesting how you're mentioning that Christianity is creating, or has created many of the atheists. I wonder what our audience thinks of that comment, if there's anybody that wanted to comment on that in the back there.
That's very interesting. In your Pew research, I think atheists scored best of all the knowledge.
Yes.
That's a very interesting point. The more people are getting knowledge, they're becoming atheist. Isn't it's going against your argument that, that the more knowledge that you will have, you come to Islam or science, or it's like, the more people are researching, they are going away from religion. I mean, data is not,
I love this. This is
not
real
there.
talk. This is real talk, because see, if you really look at that survey more deeply, 3,412 people were surveyed. How many of them were Muslims? Any guess? 3,412. They call it a random survey of America, representative of America. 0. Islam was not represented. How many atheists? 212. You could find 212 Muslims at Beit Rahman any given Friday. It wasn't hard. So my argument is that Islam is really not in the conversation when it comes to science and religion. The dogma is still exactly what Mehdi Saab described. It's usually Judaism, Christianity, Genesis, evolution, abortion, 5 issues, and therefore we can trump religion. And when you, by the way, going back to the survey, there was another question in the survey, people who had to characterize themselves, whether they were practicing or not. And one characterization was that I don't really believe in anything. And they did not include that group with atheists or agnostics. Had they done that, the difference goes away. And there is an article in Scientific American this month, which is one of the leading scientist journals for over 150 years, that talks about that. That if you lump that number together, which actually they are saying we are atheist or agnostic, this difference goes away. Atheists really do not do as well as they look on the surface. So one of the messages for the youth is don't just believe every study out there.
We're talking about knowledge is power. We're talking about different factors that are the driving force to perhaps being the driving force from religion. But how can we, is it okay to just learn about anything? Does that mean that I can go into a bar because I want to know what's in the bar? Does that mean I can date a girl because I want to know what happens when I date a girl? Where is that limit? Does that mean we can just do whatever we want? So in the scope of, I want to learn about this. Knowledge is a good thing. Islam promotes knowledge of everything. So where is that line? I addressed that to the whole panel anyway.
Let me first explain what is knowledge. Knowledge is of 2 types. One is the knowledge of the creation of God, that is science. And then we have the knowledge of the Word of God, that is the revelation or the Holy Quran. So both these knowledges have to be in complete harmony, because God cannot speak and say something in His Word which is totally opposite to what He has created. So the real science and real knowledge of religion has to be in harmony, total harmony. There shouldn't be any contradiction between the two. Now, the limits, in that Word of God, there are limits. And God says that there should be moderation in everything, and you cannot cross the boundaries. And He uses the word boundaries. So there are boundaries put by God Himself, and we should not cross those boundaries. And
anyone else wanted to add to that?
Just like Mehdi Saab said, I really think, with all due respect, that question is like cheating yourself. Because we don't experience everything in life. We take a lot of things that are told to us, and we believe, and we accept. We don't jump out of the 20th story of a building just to test it out. We don't try to experience fire. We know it's going to cause harm. So I really think that question, and yes, those questions come to mind, but they're planted. I think that's the waswasa that shaitan puts in our head, that you have the freedom. It's not about freedom, it's about cheating ourselves. I know better. I know the consequence of that action, but I'm being tempted, and I'm just trying to rationalize it. So sooner or later, you're going to find that contradiction. It's going to be hard to face yourself in the mirror.
And it seems like the youth are the prime target for advertising. And there's a lot of these images in advertising. You know, you've got the beer commercials, you got the, Super Bowl, the main commercials in the Super Bowl, which everybody watches, are, planted with all these messages, these images of happiness. This, whether it's superficial happiness or artificial, it looks pretty good. It looks like these people in the imagery are having a lot of fun. They're happy. So I wanted to first take it to the audience and kind of to gauge their experience with being the recipient, being the target of these this bombardment of images. You got TV advertising, you got radio advertising, billboards, music, all of these things. Maybe give us some examples that you've experienced or that you see your friends involved with.
I'll make a point on the television and advertising some of these things. And, my general feeling in my own experience is that there's a time, at least as I experienced it, that you become numb to it. The way, just the constant bombardment, it's almost as if if you ignore it, then you will become numb to it. And once you are out of it, once you actually become aware that was targeted towards you, you were the recipient, you were being fooled in a way, then you realize that there was such a concerted effort. So the advertisement, and specifically the advertisement and television shows, I think it's a matter of awareness, as one of the panelists is also talking about, that you have to be really aware that this is targeted towards you, this is there to cheat you, it's there to sell you something for $30, it's not really real. And once you're out of it, then you start realizing that how much time it was taking away from you, how it was impacting you spiritually, how it was really degrading your state, your moral and your spiritual state to a lower degree. So I think it's very harmful, and we need to be aware.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We are running a bit out of time, so we're going to wrap up here. But first, I wanted to get some closing remarks from the audience. Just anything that you wanted to mention, something that you might have learned from this discussion that you wanted to add?
One of the things that is normally thrown out from the people who don't believe in the religion is that we are educated, we have knowledge over time. As Melissa mentioned, evolution of mind has happened. So the human mind and the human intellect is at a level where they can now claim that we know what morality is, or in general we have an idea what a moral society looks like. So why do we need a religion then?
And Fahim, if you can actually hold that thought for your closing remarks and just incorporate it in that. I just wanted to get some other views from the audience first. Yep, go ahead.
I think it comes down to looking at history and how things have changed over time drastically. But you've noticed that one thing that's always been there, religion and God. So that kind of gives you that trust in God that you need to just like Matthew Saab said earlier about knowing the beauties of God. That gives you the trust in God that even though all this is around you, you have God.
And I want to thank our audience for being an active part of this discussion. I did want to bring it back to the panel for your closing remarks. And in your closing remarks, if you can also talk about, just to kind of reiterate the seeking of pleasure in this world and seeking pleasure from outside this world. The importance of both and how to balance both and talk about those topics. Latif Saab, we'll start with you and for your closing remarks.
I think if you believe in God and believe that man has a duty to God and a duty to mankind, and you live your life accordingly, you will have lived a good life, and you'll go to the hereafter and get your reward from your Allah. If you do not believe in God and you pursue this world, what is the difference between the life you led and the life that I led? We both enjoyed this life, and it's just that in the hereafter, you will be the loser, and I can hope for the mercy of God.
Okay, thank you very much. Madison?
The Prophet Messiah Islam has said that you must pray in your own mother tongue. So when you do your salat in sajda, you should pray to God and in your mother tongue. after the Arabic usual prayers, and try to connect with him and ask him and talk to him as you talk to other people. Talk to him. And once you have seen the acceptance of your first prayer, and then you will see the second and the third one, all these matters will be resolved and solved. Because you would say, I know God, I don't need any argument. I can face atheists and tell them that I have experienced him, he listens to my prayers. And then you feel that power, which should not take us to any arrogance, that God is with me and he is going to take care of me every step of my life.
Thank you. Yunusan.
I think as we go through our lives and we buy the things that we like, we pursue the things that we want to have in our life, we got to keep in mind the point when we have stepped too far and become too materialistic, and when we have kept that in check. And I think the point is when you get to the point where you desire something so much that you feel like you can't live without it, like you have to have it. And that's when you've gone too far and you've desired it too much. I believe the Holy Quran has given us a remedy for fighting off the desires of materialism, and that is in the form of financial sacrifice. When we sacrifice our material wealth in the cause of Allah, then it helps to break that desire.
I'll again go back to the same analogy of making the phone call to my mother. Why I spent all that time on that very cold night, because I knew my mother existed. I'd spoken to her, I'd seen her love. And as human beings, once you have seen that love of Allah, even for once, even you need just one phone call from that Creator, just one message, once you receive that, then you believe in it. Going back to Haris Bhai's question, as to there are a lot of people who feel morality is needed, but I would say the king of morality, king of that philosophy would be Russia. They've ran a country on that philosophy for so many decades. And when Time magazine asked Vladimir Putin when he became the man of the year, they said, what happened to you? You became a Christian. Did you know that? Vladimir Putin became a Christian. So they said, what happened to you after all these years of denying God? Why now? He said, I have come to the conclusion that there is no running away from God if you want to raise a moral society. So I think that the data is not on the side of your friend when he says that. Ask him how many people are killed in America every year by suicide versus homicide. Would you believe that more people kill themselves as compared to being killed by criminals? We have 33,000 people in America that kill themselves every year. So that's what happens when you lose God from your life. Final comment. You may save some money for your college because you want to achieve something. You're making deposits into a certain bank because you know that you're going to have to withdraw money from that bank. Allah Ta'ala says in Holy Quran, remember me and I will remember you. Very clear transaction. It's to your own benefit. You're going to need that withdrawal one day in your life, not in the far future. Maybe your child will be sick. Maybe you want to get married at a certain time. Maybe you want a certain job. Maybe your dad is ill. There will be a need for you to reach out to that God, that spiritual bank. And if you have not made those 5 daily deposits that I call salat, your check's going to bounce and you're not going to like it.
Again, I want to thank both our audience and our panel for a great, lively, and active discussion. You can email us at realtalk@mta.tv or follow us on Twitter at MTA_realtalk. This was Real Talk. We looked at social and religious issues that our youth face today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.